All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So it is officially March, which means it's speculation season, and we have free agency beginning in less than 2 weeks. The Pittsburgh Steelers are coming off just kind of a weird season. Matt Canada getting fired, the offensive coordinator, halfway through the year. They go 10-7. The backup, technically third-string quarterback, Mason Rudolph, wins the last 3 games. You get into the playoffs. You deal with a game postponement for a day. It's just a weird season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, they're so close. And it all kind of begins with the quarterback position, whether you think it should be Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph or Justin Fields or a rookie. I don't really know what's going to happen. I don't think any of us really know what's going to happen. So that's what we're going to talk about in tonight's video. I did find it interesting. JJ McCarthy today, less than an hour ago, just said on NFL Network that he formally met with 11 teams at the Combine, and no, the Pittsburgh Steelers were not on that list. We're going to talk about Justin Fields in just 1 second, but guys, I know we're less than 2 months away from the draft, but especially when we're talking about a guy like Justin Fields in the Chicago Bears situation where they've got the first pick in the draft. They need to make a decision soon, and these teams and Omar Khan, these guys got to start making their decision soon, because free agency, once again, is less than 2 weeks away. You gotta go through free agency, and then you got to go through the draft. So free agency for Pittsburgh going to tell us a lot about how they're going to draft, but it is looking very much so that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to be taking a quarterback in the first round, and we're going to be talking about that in tonight's video. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Post a ton of Steelers videos on this channel, so if you guys wouldn't mind getting this video to 250 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So Pittsburgh was the 5th worst passing offense in the league. They were the 4th worst offense in the league. You bring on in Arthur Smith as the new offensive coordinator, and hopefully he can change things up. Guys, I'm not a huge fan of just going into next season with Kenny Pickett. Even going and re-signing Mason Rudolph and going into next year with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph battling it out in camp. I think this team is a lot closer. And me personally, I want a little bit more pop. I want a little bit more zip. And that's where Justin Fields kind of comes into this. But I do just want to say this really quickly, because we've talked about it at numerous points in this season. Russell Wilson is expected to be cut by the Denver Broncos by next week. So, I know, Pittsburgh, it just feels like they're a quarterback away. Like I said, we've made a ton of Russell Wilson videos. I do totally understand Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson, at this stage in their careers kind of being similar to Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his career. So that's why I want to talk a little bit about Justin Fields, because we saw Adam Schefter go on 3.com and say this: I think Atlanta will be something of a surprise right now to trade for Justin Fields. There's been some conversations about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe something can be figured out there. And then I do just want to point out a quote from Omar Khan at the Combine this past weekend. "I have full faith in Kenny," Khan said. "He's shown us some good things. Obviously, there were some issues with the offense, and I'm excited about the impact that Arthur Smith is going to have on him. Arthur is very optimistic about Kenny. I know they've communicated. We'll have some strong competition out there, and we'll see how it goes, regardless of what position, not just the QB spot. You guys have heard me talk all about this last year when I first got this job. Competition is important to me, and that's no different to the quarterback position. Competition makes us all better. That's regardless of position. That's just in life." So, I got to be quite honest with you guys. It really feels to me like Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph will be the quarterbacks on the roster for next season. And I'm split on that. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I do think Kenny Pickett has potential. I don't necessarily know if you're going to win a Super Bowl with Kenny Pickett under center. I get it, man. Matt Canada did a poor job of calling plays. He just didn't really fit the personnel. It just wasn't working. And unfortunately for Kenny, he got injured at a terrible time. And in the first game, after he got fired, Matt Canada got fired, Kenny Pickett, throws for 274 yards against the Cincinnati Bengals. But it's difficult for me when I watch Kenny, a guy coming off a season where he's thrown for just 172.5 yards per game, a 62% completion percentage, just 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on his career. He's only 13 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, but I get it. We got to take his rookie season with a grain of salt, because, when he got thrown into the starting mix, it was kind of a S show, and by the end of the season, he was vastly improved, especially with the interceptions and the turnovers. But I don't love it. But I don't hate it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why Justin Fields comes into it, because the Justin Fields trade rumors right now are pretty interesting. The Bears spent most of the combine week reportedly gauging interest in their QB. So that poses issues for Chicago and Ryan Poles, their GM, because it's like they want a second round pick. Halfway through last year, they wanted a first round pick. I don't think you're going to get anything close to a second round pick. I think Chicago would be lucky. By the way, Chicago's taken Caleb Williams, Chicagoland, born and raised here. I don't see any reason, and I like Justin Fields. I don't see any reason why with the first pick in this year's draft again. How many times do you have the first pick in the draft for 2 straight seasons? Caleb Williams, if he's supposedly this generational talent, I don't know why they would pass on a generational talent to keep Justin Fields and pick up his 5th-year option. Like, it just doesn't make much sense to me. On Chicago, it does, or sorry, on Pittsburgh, Justin Fields does intrigue me. I know he's got a bunch of issues. I know he throws interceptions. I know he struggles in the pocket. I know he fumbles way too much. So that's why I'm kind of trying to, I don't even really know if I would prefer Justin Fields over Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. But I do think he would give Pittsburgh, with Arthur Smith specifically, a really nice, versatile offense, specifically in the rushing game. And when we take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's like they were 13th ranked rushing offense this year. But I've got Jaylen Warren, I've got Najee Harris, and just the thought of having Justin Fields into that mix with George Pickens and Deontay Johnson and my 2 tight ends, it does intrigue me. I think that's just kind of where I stand with this. Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers intrigues me, all right? Pittsburgh's not perfect. They're probably going to go offensive lineman in the first round of the draft. One quick thing as we wrap up this video, I do think they need a more solidified wide receiver 3. I was dead wrong about Allen Robinson, 34 catches, 280 yards. He's only 30 years old, but the impact was not there. When we saw the first string starters in preseason last year, Kenny Pickett and the first team lit it up. They absolutely lit it up. And George Pickens, star wide receiver. The dude averaged over 18 yards per catch this season. Deontay Johnson, 51 catches, 717 yards. He averaged 14 yards per catch. But outside of that, my 3rd leading receiver was Jaylen Warren. The dude's a stud. My 4th leading receiver was Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, who was so underutilized, it's not even funny. I saw an interesting potential free agent acquisition for Pittsburgh being Curtis Samuel. And I got to say, I really do like that. Regardless, Pittsburgh's got to figure out the QB position, whether they're currently on your roster or if it's Mason Rudolph in a camp battle between those 2 guys, or if you're going to trade for Justin Fields, it's probably going to be sooner rather than later. So stay tuned. But most importantly, guys, hit that like button, hit that sub button. Let me know, who do you want as QB1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers down below. Peace.